Which NFL team will win the Super Bowl? We're about to find out. Here we go. Oh, the Seahawks turning sideways right away. The Lions, of course, they flip over. Not even surprised. The Steelers going backwards. Tom Brady going crazy, clutching, moving like crazy. Almost evades it, but he is out. His team didn't help him enough. Raiders in the front. Kind of ridiculous. We're kicking up the speed. We got 5 teams left. The Colts are doing good. Steelers are still going backwards. Raiders doing really nice. Colts are falling back a little bit. We're all tied up here. Top 5. Colts are falling back. Steelers flip around but save it. Never mind, it's the Colts and the Raiders. The Raiders win. CBS Sports Radio.
You're listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks, CBS Sports Radio, #1 sports station.
Good morning, and this is your Armchair Quarterbacks Sports Flash. Major League Baseball is back at it with a full slate today, and the Armchair Quarterbacks are going to bring you the Toronto Blue Jays and Tampa Bay Rays live at 3:10 p.m. Eastern Time. It's Ryu versus Waka, a big one in the AL East. Tune in for pregame at 3 o'clock Eastern as Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks YouTube channel bring you Tampa Bay versus Toronto. 7:05, you get the Rangers at the Yankees. Taylor Hearn versus Corey Kluber. And the Mets and Red Sox are back at it. ESPN, 7:10 Eastern, Tyler McGill and Chris Sale. Twins are at the Cubs. Joe Ryan versus Kyle Hendricks. And the Cardinals and Brewers. Miles Mikolas will take the hill for St. Louis. 9:40 Eastern tonight, Braves Ian Anderson versus Arizona's Merrill Kelly. Other games around the league, Pirates are at the Reds at 12:35 Eastern, and the White Sox are at the Tigers at 1:10. It's Ronaldo Lopez versus Casey Mize. 6:10 Eastern, Royals versus the Indians. Carlos Hernandez and Logan Allen are at it. At 6:40, it's the Nationals and Marlins. Josiah Gray for Washington takes the bump versus Eliezer Hernandez with his 3.80 ERA. Orioles versus the Phillies. Game 3 of the set. Keegan Aiken versus Zach Wheeler. A 2.83 ERA versus a 6.93 ERA. Things are looking good for Philly today. Dodgers are at the Rockies. Walker Buehler versus German Marquez. And the Astros and Angels on ESPN Plus. That takes place at 9:38 Eastern. Luis Garcia versus Jansen Junk. Yeah, I said that. His name is Jansen Junk with his 2.25 ERA. Mariners and A's, 9:40 Eastern, and Chris Flexen will go at it versus Cole Irvin. And the Giants and Padres one more time on ESPN. That's the nightcap at 10 p.m. Eastern. And that's your Armchair Quarterbacks Sports Flash. Stay tuned for the Armchair Quarterbacks radio show and YouTube Live. Please like, subscribe, and share our show today. The Armchair Quarterbacks, your first choice for sports talk, live from the First Coast.
This takes me back. Oh, that's sad. Oh man, I'm glad we're not going that way. Man, is it hot enough out here for you? Hey, you missed a spot. Oh, buddy, smells good. Let me know when it's ready.
I'm the only one you've been with, right?
Yeah. The rest were 9s and 10s.
Armchair.
have been hoodwinked, bamboozled, and flat out deceived.
There's something kind of about a kid that's never played baseball.
But what the hell, boy?
Make sure to listen to the Armchair Quarterbacks. Good enough for us down here in the bayou. Go Tigers and the Armchair Quarterbacks.
Good morning.
Armchair. YouTube Live.
CBS Sports
Radio Station.
The radio station you can call your own. Do you know what listeners like about our station? It's everything.
I like everything. It's always on my radio.
We never stop the music, except for now, when I talk.
Good morning. Welcome to the Armchair Quarterbacks. I'm Mac McGee. And I had to record this a little earlier than normal. Normally we go live, but I recorded this a little earlier because I did the Braves game tonight, or last night, I guess it is now. Looks like Ben Roethlisberger's dealing with a pec injury, so we'll get into that when it comes to fantasy football. We'll talk about who you might want to hit on the waiver wire and other things going on. There's no college football today, but there's a lot of baseball. We're going to go ahead and hit those early morning or those early day scores. Sorry, I'm a little groggy. We're going to do Tampa Bay Rays and Blue Jays today at 3:10 Eastern, assuming everything goes well. I don't see why it would not. If something were to change, I would definitely let you know. But as of right now, it's being planned. I've got an appointment that's taking place around lunchtime. I should be well out of that to be able to bring you Rays versus Blue Jays here on the Armchair Quarterbacks YouTube channel. That's going to be Ryu versus Waka. Should be one heck of a game. Very important game in the whole scheme of the American League East. Rangers and Yankees. That's 7:05 today. And Corey Kluber is set to take the hill. Yankees still trying to fight out for the wild card spot in the American League. And remember something, the Yankees and Red Sox are heading for a collision course this weekend. They got 3 games set, and obviously that will be a very, very, that will be a very, very important series as their 3-game set begins Friday, runs Friday to Sunday. I believe that is the Sunday night game of the week as well. Red Sox will play the Mets today. It's Miguel versus Chris Sale. And I'm going to skip over the teams that aren't in the playoff hunt. There's no point in it. The Cardinals will continue their series with the Brewers. Then you've got the Braves. They're playing at 9:40 tonight. Ian Anderson versus Merrill Kelly. And then Thursday we'll finish a 4-day road trip into Arizona. The first pitch will be 3:40. We're going to bring you that game as well. So we're giving you 4 games in a row, essentially. And I haven't decided what we're going to do on the weekend, if we're going to do any games on the weekend, but we are going to bring you the game today. Blue Jays and Rays, an important game at 3:00 Eastern. I can't do double duty on bringing the Braves again at 9:40 at night. At that point, I would have to just scrap the morning show. I picked a really strange time to take on doing this, but it's kind of fell in our lap, and we've had a decent response. So we do want to keep doing it, but the Braves will be back east at the end of this road trip starting on Tuesday. So it'd be a little more normal of a schedule. So that'll finish it up. So we'll have Blue Jays and Rays today at 3, and then tomorrow at 3:40, it'll be Braves and Diamondbacks. We'll bring you that. And then I'll get into the weekend, look into what's going on. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, and if I have the chance to do it, it's showing here, if this is accurate, the suspended game of the Braves and Padres, so it'll be a short set there, is set to be played on Friday. And if it's accurate, it looks like that that first pitch will take place around 8 o'clock Eastern. I got to get that verified. I saw it on one site, but I do not see it here on ESPN at this point. So I've got to get that verified. If that's the case, that's probably the game I'll do Friday night, just to do a quick little show, a quick little game there, because staying up again, doing that 10 o'clock in the evening junk, and then getting up and doing the Saturday morning kickoff show, that took a lot out of me. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I was on fumes this entire weekend, so I'm not trying to do that again. All right. And I do want to do the college kickoff show, so I'm not going to junk that up. But I'm thinking, if that's the case, if we get an early evening game on Friday night, and it's just only going to last a couple hours, an hour, realistically, when you're looking at this, I'll bring you that, and then we'll attack the weekend on its own. All right, rest of the games going today of interest. Like I said, I'm going to go over. I'm going to skip right over the ones that realistically we do not care about. But you got the Phillies and Orioles. Obviously, that's big in the NL East race. Wheeler versus Aiken. It's not a good matchup there, Braves fans. So if you're a Braves fan, you're listening, I'm telling you right now, Aiken's one of the worst starting pitchers in baseball. And as we all know, Zach Wheeler is the real deal. So I would think the Phillies are probably going to gain a half game before the Braves ever get first pitch tonight. So very critical for the Braves to play a good game tonight. Rockies and Dodgers, same situation. If you're a Giants fan, they're sending Walker Buehler to the mound to go up again against German Marquez. But German Marquez is a very good pitcher, a solid pitcher, but he's not Walker Buehler, and we know the bats that LA has. Then you got the Astros. They're about to wrap up the West, but they'll send Luis Garcia to the mound, and then late tonight you got Giants and Padres. That will be on ESPN. If you are staying up late and you have ESPN, that will be on ESPN. I will probably be a zombie by that time, so I'm going to miss that game. But that's what you got in Major League Baseball going today. And like I said, tomorrow at 3:40 Eastern, Braves, Diamondbacks. Right now it's set to be Charlie Morton and Madison Bumgarner. We'll see how far that goes. But right now, that is what we're looking at here at the Atlanta Braves and Diamondbacks. That'll be Thursday. And so we go from there. All right, so let's go ahead and get into let's do a little bit of the lines. We're going to take a look at the lines, see if they've moved around any bit today. And we're also going to go right into fantasy football here in a little bit. If you've got any fantasy football questions, put them in the chat. I will answer them when I am coherent here in a little while. I didn't get done with all this probably till around a little past 3 a.m. So I will look at it. I will answer your questions. It may not be till 9, 10 o'clock in the morning. Okay. So let's go ahead and get into this. As far as the picks go, now tomorrow night, the line is still sitting at 7.5. Panthers, Texans. We haven't gotten a firm confirmation. I don't think Tyrod Taylor will play. If he does, I'd be willing to take the Texans plus the 7.5, but I don't think he will play. I'm kind of steering clear of that. With that being said, the over-under is kind of low. It's sitting at 43. The Texans have given up a lot of points. The Panthers defense stifled the Saints, but they're going to be on the road. It's a short week. 43 is pretty low. It really is. So if you're looking for some action in this game, the safe bet might be the over-under on the team over with the Panthers at 24.5. But all in all, I kind of like the over. I'm not as vehement as I was on the Giants Redskins game last week. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that I'm not going to have a clear understanding of what's going on till right before kickoff, because I do believe it's going to be a game time decision. The Texans most likely are going to keep their cards held to their vests. So they're going to try to keep as much guessing going on with Carolina as they prepare. And so they'll announce it right before kickoff, but that doesn't do us any good right now. So I'm saying steer clear of it until you know more about it, and then just kind of trust your own instincts. Looking over into the NFL on Sunday, not a whole lot of movement, but what I am looking at here, I still like the fact that Washington's getting 10 points. I think that's an incredible amount of points for the Washington football team to be getting. I know a lot of people will believe that Buffalo is going to just blow their doors off. Washington's got a good defense, and Heineke's not a terrible quarterback. We saw that on Thursday. And that's almost an insult for me to say it that way. He's not a terrible quarterback. Heineke is a solid quarterback in the NFL. I think he's only going to get better. He's a young kid, but he's solid right now. So it's not like you're sending chopped liver out there. This isn't Gardner Minshew of last year, right? This is a guy that's mobile. He has been pretty accurate with the ball. He's also been very smart with the ball. And what we saw from him last year, even in that playoff game that they lost to the Buccaneers, they probably came the closest of anyone of beating the Bucs in the playoffs last year, right? Excuse me, as my fan falls on my foot. It's too late in the evening for this junk. I'll tell you that right now. But yeah, Heineke, I think he's played it pretty well so far in his career. And with all that being said, I think 10 points, people don't understand. There's too many lines that are drawn when someone says, 10 points, that's nothing, they'll clear it. And they're thinking of college football. College football is a joke compared to the National Football League. Well, we all love college football for good reason, but it's not the same sport, y'all. There's a lot more scoring in college football because the defenses are so much more vanilla. They have to be because they only have X amount of hours to practice. And then you top that on the fact that in the National Football League, all the athletes are even. The rosters are usually very, very even. You have a few elite stars that makes your roster better than the other roster, but that's it. And so there's very few NFL games that turn into blowouts. So when I see the Lions getting 8 points and I see the Bills getting 10 points, sometime I'll take the coward's route, right? And I'll say, I'm going to go ahead and tease it. I'll tease the Lions and I'll tease the Bills. But that means that they both have to hit. And I've learned over the years, you're better off just going straight up with them. You're better off taking Detroit. Maybe you buy a half point or so. And you take Washington. Maybe you buy a half point or so. But you're better off doing that than going with the tease and the parlay. I've tried to explain that to some of the guys on the show off the air, so I won't throw them under the bus. But I see them routinely week after week, day after day, send me screenshots of their bets, and they're pie in the sky bets. They really are. They're, if all three of these things hit, all four of these things hit, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to make a lot of money. And then one of them busts and it blows your entire thing. So you're right on three, but you miss out on the fourth one, which is standard procedure and still impressive in the betting world. But because you went all four on a 4-game parlay, you get zero, you get nada. And you didn't just get zero, you lost whatever you put up. Excuse me. So I'm not a big fan of the parlays. I will probably do one parlay each weekend, and it's for very little money just to have a little fun. But more and more than anything else, I always stick to the script of straight up bets because they are the smart way. The moral of the story is if it's too good to be true, if it sounds too good to be true, it usually is. You go, man, if I take this parlay, it's 25-1, it's 20-1, whatever you have, 15-1. Man, all this hit, I'm gonna make so much more money than if I do them one by one. There's a reason why they do that, sucker. Because you're a sucker. Because you get delusions of grandeur, as they call it, in your skull. And you're, oh man, if everything comes flying my way, look out, baby, rock and roll. And then someone asks you the next day, how'd your parlay do? Oh, I hit 3 or 4. That's best case scenario. Usually I lost 3 or 4. So the upside would be that you only lose the $10, $15, $20. I mean, and quit screenshotting me. You know who you are. Quit screenshotting me your $5 parlays to pay out plus 700 or whatever. Yeah, because you have unrealistic ways of this even happening. Quit doing. If it hits, tell me about it. That's fine. But I'm not going to get sucked into reading your junk. I just scroll right by them. I'm going, oh, okay. If you say so. And then I don't hear anything else of it. So that's how I know the parlay never hit. No one realistically cares about your bets unless they're watching a show to get your advice, or you hit it and you're telling, look what I did. You go, oh man, I should have done that. But to tell people prior to your bets who you bet, to try to get them sucked into your world of, oh, look what could happen, look what could happen. I'm telling you right now, we just go, yeah, but dude, all 5 games have to hit. And usually there's like a goofy one in there. It's like, they're like, man, if the Lions and the Redskins and the Bears and the Jets all win on the road, I'm going to win $3,000. They all have to win on the road outright, not cover the spread. They all have to win. Then shut up, because the chances of you getting that lucky is just it's unrealistic. Now we'll come back Monday and go, remember when you said this? Man, I should have put the money on that. But anyways, you get my drift. I try to give you realistic shots, realistic bets. And that's what they go after. You know, they're going to be bringing betting to the state of Florida very soon, and they're going to get their suckers out there. But anyways, other lines that I like, this is an intriguing one. They finally put the line back up. They took it down for a little bit on Tuesday. The Buccaneers are a 1-point favorite at the Rams. That's a really fun one. By the way, I'm very, very disappointed that's not the Sunday night game. Now, Green Bay at San Francisco is a good game, and I get it. You can only have Tampa Bay on so many times, but that would be a fun one, wouldn't it? Could we have taken the Rams off their one Sunday night game, or how many Sunday night games against the stupid Bears, and put them up against the Bucks? You get Packers and 49ers 3.5 point spread. Remember a couple of years ago when they went out there, the Packers did, and we thought it was going to be a great game, and the 49ers just out muscled them and beat them to a pulp. That sticks in my mind, and I'm a little gun shy to touch that game. Plus the over under on that game, 49.5. It sounds reachable, but when you get in these over unders in the National Football League, anything past about 45, it means you cannot have a slow quarter. So in other words, if let's say you take the 49.5, the over with the Packers and 49ers, and the Packers come out the gate, they score a touchdown. The 49ers come out the gate, they score a touchdown. And in the second quarter, everyone just kind of mulls around. There's only a field goal scored, and it's 10-7 at the half. You start doing the math, and you're like, man, I've got to get 33 points. I'm sorry, I got to get it's 10-7. I got to get 33 points, averaging over 16 points the next 2 quarters. When you break that down and you realize 33 points, it means I've got to get 5 touchdowns or 4 touchdowns and 2 field goals in the second half. It makes it very, very difficult to reach that. Same thing like Bucks Rams 55.5. In theory, that should be gettable. But we think of how good the offenses are. We forget how good those 2 defenses are. So I'm starting to look at 55.5 as a pretty high number for Rams Bucks as a total, because I feel like it's going to be like a boxing match. There's going to be a lot of feeling yourself out. You know, you're throwing a couple of jabs in the first couple of rounds before the haymakers come, and you want to make sure you don't play yourself out of the game in the first half, because this, for all intents and purposes, could be the deciding factor in who gets home field advantage in the NFC down the road. Now, we don't know. Injuries happen, et cetera, et cetera. But the Rams and the Bucks look like 2 of the best teams in football, not to mention the NFC East. So there could be a little of nerves and also game planning of not doing anything really stupid to turn the ball over to start the game. And the last time Tom Brady played the Rams in a significant ball game, we thought it was going to be this big, high-scoring affair in the Super Bowl, Rams-Patriots, remember? It was one of the dullest Super Bowls we've ever seen. So I'm a little gun shy on that 55.5. I think I would lean to the under on that one as we speak. Couple others, and then we'll transition here into college football. You know what? We'll just do one more. I think this one is gettable. The over, Giants, Falcons, 48.5. It's an early kickoff, sure, but they're both Eastern teams. Both defenses have been very suspect. Both offenses have the ability to score, and I think 48.5 is really gettable. I see a game like that, Giants and Falcons. I think the Giants are going to finally get their first win on the season, but I don't think it's going to be an easy game. And I see something like a 35-24, 35, 34-28 type of game. I think both offenses will put up a lot of points. Let's go to college football real quick before we go into fantasy. And in college football, we're looking at some interesting games. There's a Thursday night game, but man, you got to be hard up to bet this one. Marshall versus Appalachian State. The only thing I really know about Appalachian State is that they almost beat Miami. 2 weeks ago, we thought that was impressive. Now we know just something. Miami's not very good. But I'm steering clear of that. Middle Tennessee State, by the way, does play Friday night. So a lot of people do have a lot of interest in including yours truly. I worked for the university as their executive chef for almost 2 years. So I still pull for MTSU. I still like to see Murfreesboro in the city do well. The intriguing one to me Friday night is Wake Forest getting 4 at Virginia. Virginia's proven to be, despite my early season prognostications, they're actually a pretty decent football team. And Wake Forest has played solid football. They're getting 4 points. What's really intriguing is the 68.5. I'm not saying that can't be reached, but once again, you better get your roller skates out if you're going to crack 70 points. I mean, what you're basically saying there is that the game is going to be about a 36-32 ball game. That's a lot of points scored, and Wake Forest does run no huddle. They do like to push the tempo. Virginia's a little bit in the middle, but that's an intriguing one. I won't lean one way or the other right now, but I am interested in that spread going forward. And then we'll hit a couple of college ones real quick before we jump into the fantasy football aspect going to this weekend. Wisconsin and Notre Dame, it has jumped a full points now, 6.5. The Fighting Irish are getting. So that's an interesting one. I feel like they're trying to bait you into taking Notre Dame plus 6.5. And usually when it's too good to be true, it is. Wisconsin's really good at home. They're just famously very good at home. That's a tough one. What's intriguing to me is that the over-under is 46.5, and I feel like those two offenses will put up some points. So I'm really interested in that over-under. I'm going to be keeping an eye on that. People have asked me, well, when do you strike? It's when I look at a line, I go, it is too good to be true, and I have a feeling it is going to get worse. Then I try to jump in. But there's others. Now, Boston College, remember I talked about this yesterday. The line is going down, and Boston College is still an underdog because they're playing an SEC school in Missouri, but the line is going down. So I'm interested in that one. It's +2 Boston College. That is a noon kickoff. Georgia Vanderbilt, that score is only going up. If you're going to take the Bulldogs, you better get them quick because I think Georgia will be close to a 40-point favorite, and they might just take that game off the board, to be honest with you. LSU, Mississippi State. LSU is now a 2.5-point favorite. And some of your later games in the day, some 3:30 action. Florida State's a 2-point underdog against Louisville. As a Florida State fan, avid Florida State fan, I can't tell you with good conscience to take the Seminoles. Because if you take them +2, what you're saying is they're going to win. And I've seen nothing that shows me that Florida State's going to win. someone sent me an article about Feinbaum saying essentially what I said yesterday. Mine was more vehement because Feinbaum's not emotionally attached to Florida State, but basically saying Norvell and Willie Taggart, there's no difference, and it is just absolutely dumbfounding at this point. And you can the only conclusion you can draw is that they're in trouble. Norvell is in trouble. Florida State's not in trouble. Florida State will bounce back when they get the right person in there to head coach. But in the near future, if you're a fan and you build your Saturdays and fall around it, it sucks. It sucks big time. Because you're sitting here with the Louisville, and when you barely lost to Notre Dame at home in the opening game, all we could think was Jacksonville State W. Well, I knew Wake Forest was going to be tough, but I thought they'd have a fighting chance. Didn't even show up against Wake Forest. So now they're sitting there 0-3, and they're getting Louisville and Syracuse at home for the next 2 weeks. In a perfect world, after that very close loss to Notre Dame, which if you look at a lot of aspects of it, we're not going to go dig that game back up, but Florida State would have made some other decisions. They probably win that game. They could very well be 3-0 right now, ranked in the top 15 in the country, maybe, at least top 20. But instead, it's like they've regressed. They went from the Notre Dame game to giving up on the last game against Jacksonville State. And it's like the team has given up, and they got off the bus against Wake Forest and didn't even try. I saw loose arm tackles, the whole 9 yards. Everything when you see a team do, you're like, there's no fight in there. So whatever cliche you got to throw at it, closed door meeting, et cetera, it's time for it. And if they don't get their heads out of the rears, this team will be lucky to win 4 games this year. 4. That's pathetic at Florida State standards. So a 2-point underdog, I can't tell you to take that. I also don't think the 62.5 point spread is realistic, because unless Louisville is going to score 63 of them, I don't know where all the points are going to come from. Because if Jordan Travis is going to get out there again, and we're going to see the same thing over and over, Florida State will have like 7 points at the half, maybe 10. So I'd be willing to take the under on that game. That's where I'm really leaning. I haven't been that impressed by Louisville, but they did get the big win against Central Florida, so at least they have a pulse and a fight in them. And I'm much more impressed with their head coach than I am Norvell. We'll get off that bandwagon, or that soapbox. Excuse me. Clemson, NC State. I'm really starting to think NC State plus 10 is going to be one of the better picks this week. Rutgers at Michigan. It's still 20.5. Haven't had time to do a deep dive on this, but I am going to look at it on Wednesday today. I'm going to look and see where we're at with this, because I'm really thinking I might just jump on this thing, maybe buy a point to hedge my bets. But Michigan, this is a typical game where Michigan will lay an egg and struggle. You'll probably get the win, but it'll be like a 10-point win. It seems like a lot of points to give up to Shiano's Scarlet Knights. A&M -5 at Arkansas. I don't have a strong feeling about this one way or the other, unless I see some major stat that jumps out at me that would make me go one way or the other. I'm steering clear of this game, along with the over under 47.5 is 2 pretty good defenses. I'm not touching that game. I feel like they're trying to lure you in. I can't figure out which way they're trying to sucker you. I feel like they're trying to sucker you with, hey, A&M only giving up 5. Let's go. And then you go, man, what the heck happened to Jimbo? And then Florida State fans would go, I know. Auburn's a heavy favorite against Georgia State Panthers. I'm not. They're going to have a letdown after losing to Penn State. It's a mid-afternoon game on the Plains. Georgia State's pulled upsets before. I'm steering clear of that sucker. UCLA -4.5 at Stanford. This is interesting because we thought maybe UCLA was world beaters when they beat LSU, and then they lost to Fresno State. So that just kind of tells you how good LSU is. LSU has fallen off the top very quickly. I do think Kentucky -5 is kind of a low one. And I know it's because they struggled last week, but Kentucky, if you've seen Kentucky and you've seen South Carolina, I think Kentucky can beat them by a touchdown or so. What I'm waiting to see, because they haven't released yet, is what's the team totals going to be. By the tail of the tape, it looks like it's going to be about 26-21, and I think Kentucky can definitely score 26, but -5 Kentucky is very, very tempting. And then we'll hit not a whole lot of exciting action right now out there on the boards for nighttime football for college football this weekend. So, yeah, I don't see anything that jumps out at me. I mean, Southern Cal's given up 12 to Oregon State. They just waxed the floor with Washington State. I don't see why they wouldn't do the same with Oregon State. And Arizona State Sun Devils giving up 14.5, 10:30 Eastern Saturday night to Colorado. I'd be willing to take Colorado in that 14.5. That is, unless they've got a major injury that I'm not aware of, I would be willing to take Colorado. I think that's it seems entirely too high. That seems like, considering when you watch the Colorado game versus the Arizona State game, the Colorado game versus Texas A&M, and how they played it very close to the vest and tried not to lose it, et cetera, et cetera. You give Colorado 14.5, and the over-under is 44.5. Let's go ahead and take a quick break. When we come back, we are going to be talking fantasy football. So the guys that are still out there on the waiver wire, these are the ones you want to scoop up if need be.
Anyone got a stapler? Got a lot of forms, and there's a slight breeze in here.
Law, because paperwork is dramatic. Catch it Thursdays on Weasel before it catches you.
If dating is the game, then marriage is winning the game.
Yeah, if you're playing in the women's league.
It's important to remember the value of taking time for ourselves to do the things that help us grow and explore, like learning something new. And now with the Great Courses Plus, it's never been easier to experience the joys of learning. The Great Courses Plus offers thousands of streaming videos that cover hundreds of fascinating topics, from World War II to choosing the perfect wine. You can even take a course on the U.S. government or dealing with stress and anxiety. And because the Great Courses Plus partners with world-class professors and experts, you're always receiving thoroughly vetted, high-quality content from every lecture. Plus, you can watch or listen anytime, anywhere with the Great Courses Plus app. So take a little time for you. Sign up for the Great Courses Plus today for a free month of unlimited access. Visit thegreatcoursesplus.com/radio to get started. That's thegreatcoursesplus.com/radio.
Clean. I mean, really clean. And it holds any set I want.
New beer-enriched shampoo, Body on Tap, gives your hair super body, super hold.
Brewed with 1/3 real beer.
Wow.
But don't drink it. Just shampoo. It gives my hair super body, super hold.
And the shine of your life. It's the beer shampoo that does it.
That's body.
On Tap.
Can't be taking advice from a nun and a hippie.
By all means, seek out the supreme wisdom of the junkie philosopher.
Okay, we are back. I apologize. I noticed after doing the first part of the recording that beginning of the show is going to be edited because there's that blaring sound again. And I don't know what the heck's going on with Zoom, because it came out of the break fine, and then it just went up, and it's all Zoom because I don't have this issue with any other platform. So I really don't know what else to do. But anyways, I'll try to look into it, possibly changing out my mixer, but I don't believe it's the mixer's issue. I really do believe it's Zoom, because I don't have this issue on other platforms. But anyways, who cares about that? Let's go rolling on. It's fantasy football time. And I just got to say this, because it's ridiculous and pathetic at this point, that these articles that come out that tell you absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. I mean, we're talking about, I'm going to give you an example. I got 2 articles that were sent to me. They get sent to me on my phone because I play in Yahoo. So they send me these Yahoo articles. And I normally ignore them because I normally do my own research. But Tuesday, I was just kind of curious what's being sent to me, because I normally ignore them. It's like, maybe I should read some of this stuff. Boy, was I wrong. Wildly wrong. So this gentleman's name is Troy King, and He puts out an article called Fantasy Football, 4 Key Wide Receiver Takeaways from Week 2. But this is a fantasy football article. This is not a National Football League article. If it was a National Football League article, I would say, hey, okay, whatever. It's filler on your webpage, whatever. But it's even stated that he is a fantasy contributor for Yahoo. This is a joke. This is like the training wheels of a fantasy football. So here's the first one. Cooper Kupp overfloweth. He goes on to talk about how Cooper Kupp had a big game, has had a good start to the season, and he's a receiver you should really want and start at any time. You mean the same Cooper Kupp that was going usually as a low wide receiver 1, high wide receiver 2 in fantasy football drafts, and is virtually taken in every single fantasy football league all throughout, not just Yahoo, but all leagues, unless you're in some really strange league. The Cooper Kupp would be out there on the waiver wire in week 2. All right, well, thanks for wasting my time with that there, guy. Thanks for the insight. It goes on. Marquise Brown has a big game. All right. Marquise Brown is someone who can be trusted now. First of all, that's a lie. Marquise Brown is a guy that has big games, and he has games where you say, where were you, like week 1? And he'll come out every once in a while and have a big game because they have to throw to keep up with a team like Kansas City. But typically Marquise Brown is running decoy, going they just say go long because we're going to run it up the gut. And we're trying to take the safety with you. So that's terrible advice, but it's also Marquise Brown's not available in a lot of leagues. So this isn't someone you're going to go out and scoop up because Marquise Brown is just not available in a lot of leagues. Now, if he's available in your league and it's not a shallow league, you probably do have room for Marquise Brown. So don't kill him over that one, but it's really, really stupid to point out the fact that Marquise Brown and Cooper Kupp are guys you want on your fantasy team. Anyone who's waking up this morning scrolling around the free agents and see Cooper Kupp out there, they're going to scoop them up. And if they have a wide receiver need and they have a very shallow wide receiver core on their roster and Marquise Brown is out there, they're probably going to scoop them up unless there's something better out there. But it really depends on if you're an 8-man, 10-man, 12-man, 14-man league. The next one's Marvin Jones. Now, Marvin Jones, that one I won't kill him for, but a lot of people caught up to the fact that Marvin Jones was a guy you wanted to have during the draft. Maybe I talked about him too much, but I've noticed that he's gone in almost every league that I'm in. But I knew this going into the season because Marvin Jones's offensive coordinator was the quarterback coach at Detroit. And so, yeah, they're going to get him involved because they trust him. So that one seems a little too easy and obvious. And then the other stupid one, this one's really stupid. Cortland Sutton. Are you freaking kidding me? Cortland Sutton. He's good. Of course, Cortland Sutton's a good player. He's a very good player. This just in, Cortland Sutton was an elite wide receiver before his injury. So the whole thing is just dumbfounding that they waste time on these articles to send you and I. It's just filler. Cortland Sutton is rostered in 88% of Yahoo leagues before the waiver wire hits, because I'm recording this right before the waiver wire hits. So it's going to be well above 90. But 88% of leagues. Who's he writing this for? The guy in the 6-man league with the 4-man bench? It's absolutely dumbfounding. Even better yet, now I'm just curious at this point. It's got to be a ridiculously high. Yeah, Cooper Kupp, 99%. 99%. So who is he writing this for? Go out and get Cooper Kupp in that 1% of Yahoo leagues that doesn't have Cooper Kupp out there? Marvin Jones was rostered in 64% of leagues going into Wednesday evening. I'd say he's probably going to be around the 80% plus range. So these aren't deep dives we're getting. Okay, so that's one article. All right. The next one, Jennifer Eakins, Yahoo Sports, something 4 for 4 writes for 4 for 4 is a part of. I don't know what 4 for 4 is. But anyways, she's 4 for 4, but she's contributing to Yahoo Sports, Yahoo Fantasy Sports. Fantasy football waiver wire who you want to drop to make week 3 ads. Marquez Callaway. You want to drop Marquez Callaway, is what she is saying. Really? Thank you for telling me that I want to drop a guy that is only 62% owned. And by the way, if you already kept him after week 1, you're a thumb. But Marquez Callaway had 2 targets for 1 reception for 14 yards in week 1. He had 4 targets for 2 receptions and 8 yards for week 2. Now they were drummed in Carolina, but in week 1, remember, Jameis Winston threw for 5 touchdowns. Callaway didn't get a single one and only 2 targets. He's got 3 receptions. Thanks for letting me know that Marquez Callaway can be dropped safely. I would say by the time you're watching this, Marquez Callaway will be rostered in maybe 30% of leagues. Everyone's dropping Marquez Callaway. All right. The next one. Oh, it gets worse. It gets much worse. Giovanni Bernard. Are you freaking kidding me right now? You're telling me that I should drop Giovanni Bernard. So you go to the tail of the tape. You say, well, how many people do have Giovanni Bernard? Maybe it's more than I think. It's 21% of Yahoo leagues. And if you have Giovanni Bernard in your league, there's a good chance you need him. You're in like a 16-man league, and it's a PPR, et cetera, et cetera. So this doof doesn't know what she's talking about either. Tevin Coleman of the Jets, for all intents and purposes, could be the number 3 running back on the Jets. Rostered in 19% of leagues, and that's going into the free agent wire. Of course you can drop Tevin Coleman. Unless you're in a really strange league. There's AFC only leagues, PPR, and they're really deep, and they're essentially I've been in some, they're really difficult to win. But yeah, if you're telling me to drop Tevin Coleman, you didn't have to tell me, because if I can drop Tevin Coleman, he shouldn't be on my roster to begin with. And he first of all, should he not have been drafted? But after you figured it out and the dust settled, he shouldn't have been on your opening day roster. The next one, Zach Ertz, owned in 29% of Yahoo leagues. We figured out that Zach Ertz was unrosterable last week. What is her name again? Jennifer Eakins. You're a day late and dollar short every time. Le'Veon Bell, 25%. Who the hell are you? Who are you giving advice to? It's not fantasy football players. It's not fantasy football watchers, players, whatever you call yourselves. I always refer to myself as a fantasy player. I don't really know what the correct term may be, so to speak. But it is just, it's ridiculous at this point. So that's my rant on that. Don't pay attention to these idiotic articles that are released on these mainstream sites, because just like they're terrible, I see the videos on Yahoo, on ESPN, where they give you pickup advice. They play it so safe, it's ridiculous. You're never going to win any championship listening to them, because whoever they're telling you to pick up is gone, and whoever they're telling you to drop shouldn't be on your roster at this point. So there we have that. So now we go into who should you be out there, because now the dust is settled, and these are leagues. Look, I'm going off the percentage that it was going into the waiver wire deadline. I'm sure it has jumped up quite a bit since since I recorded this, but I'm going off of what was out there and what may still be out there. Rondale Moore was owned in only 27% of leagues. If he's out there on your waiver wire and you need wide receiver help, I'd say that's your number one get this week. I'm still saying Tim Patrick long-term throughout the season is going to have a lot of fantasy value. I was right last week. He got the touchdown, but he's not going to be a guy that you're going to go out and get. He's going to get 150 yards receiving and 3 touchdowns every week. He's not. There's not a Devontae Adams in the making right now. Darnell Mooney is an interesting one. He was owned in just 47% of leagues on Tuesday. Henry Ruggs, 53% of leagues on Tuesday. Derek Carr looks like he's going to be one of those guys that has the ability to put up big time numbers at any given time. And so there you have that. Ruggs is a guy that I would be interested in. KJ Osborne, he was only owned in 2% of league. I hit him in DFS, but you're not dropping someone remember, you're still dealing with KJ Osborne. It's a little bit of a dart throw. I would be more, if I have a deeper roster and I have either Jefferson or Thielen, I'm using him as depth in case one of them gets hurt. But KJ Osborne right now from week to week, it's going to be a dicey start because he's the third option in that wide receiver attack. Devontae Parker of Miami, I'm staying away from it. I'm telling you why. I don't trust Tua. We're not sure what his injury is going to be about anyways, but not only do I not trust Tua, Will Fuller is now officially back. That Miami wide receiver situation is an absolute nightmare. And so that's where I'll cut it off on the receivers. I mean, there's some dart throws that we could throw out, but there's no sense of wasting your time. If you have a question like that, put it in the link. Ask me on Thursday, ask me on Friday, Sunday when we do the show, but there's no sense of wasting a lot of time on that. Running backs, the guys that should be out there, 36% owned on Tuesday was J.D. McKissick. If you're in a full point PPR, and it's got to be a full point PPR, and in a deeper league, you probably want J.D. McKissick. He has been the running back of choice in the passing game, and now Heineke's back, so it's going to look a lot more like it did last year. Remember, McKissick got a lot of those dump downs, and everyone thought that was going away because of the injury to Fitzpatrick. Well, guess what? It ain't, and here we are again. Kenneth Gainwell, 33% owned. Kenneth Gainwell, 33% owned. If you're a Miles Sanders owner or if you're in a deeper full PPR league, he's a guy you may want to invest in. Don't wreck your roster for him. Same thing with Alexander Madison. Alexander Madison, he trends every once in a while because of what goes down in the games, but Madison is seldomly used by the offense. But if you've got Cook or if you have an extra spot on your bench, you say, you know what, I'm going to grab him because if something happens to Cook, even if it's short term, I might be able to turn him into a trade opportunity with whoever owns Cook. I have Cook in a few leagues. I honestly have stayed away from Madison because when he does fill in, I don't feel like he lives up to the expectations. That doesn't mean you can't trick other people into it. Zach Moss, everyone's on the Zach Moss train. I say don't waste your time. I've been on that hayride too many times. It's kind of a bummer each time. Zach Moss goes out and what has he had? He's had 8 rushes for 26 yards, and now all of a sudden everyone's like, you got to go out there and get him because he was a healthy scratch to 2 touchdowns, and all of a sudden everyone's jumping up for joy getting Zach Moss. Man, the game was a blowout, and he was a vulture. That doesn't mean that's going to happen every week, and I just don't know if he's worth rostering. But people are going to run out there and jump on him. I say you stay back, you let someone waste a roster spot on these guys, and then pick up whatever they dropped. That'll be available to you by Friday or Thursday, or even in some leagues that it's an automatic. So there's not a lot of running back out there. The other one is Cordaro Patterson. That was an interesting one, especially if you have Mike Davis to give you some depth, especially in a full point PPR because he catches the ball out of the backfield. It's the same Cordaro Patterson that we've seen before. That he's now in Atlanta, and he's an ex wide receiver turned running back, and he's he's very difficult to deal with because he's got a very big and athletic body frame for a running back. So he poses problems as far as matchups, but he's not a guy that they're going to can the ball to 15, 20 times a game at any stretch, no matter what happens to Mike Davis, because he just doesn't have that build. So there you have that. And then tight ends, nothing out there to really jump up and down about. If I was going to go anywhere with the guys that are trending a little bit, maybe Austin Hooper. There really isn't anything out there. Jack Doyle is fool's gold, especially Carson Wentz on 2 bad ankles. No, thank you. And quarterbacks, I think the main one that you're probably running out there trying to get today, because of course a lot of people are going to be out there looking for Justin Fields. It still doesn't sound like he's going to start this week, so you might be able to hold off a week or two on Justin Fields. The other guy would be Derek Carr. He started off very hot. We all know that. It really depends on. Now, Derek Carr's going to have some duds, so don't drop a known quantity in fantasy football for Derek Carr. Don't be the guy that drops Dak Prescott because of his bad week and goes, I got to get Derek Carr. What? Unless you have a deep bench in your league, you don't need a backup quarterback. So a lot of these quarterbacks, the reason why I don't spend a lot of time on the quarterbacks is, let's be honest, people just don't jump out there onto quarterbacks. But Derek Carr was 22% owned in a lot of leagues going into this morning. So it really comes down to who's your starting quarterback. I've got a league where I've got a couple of bums. And so I might pick up a Derek Carr, might go a Bridgewater. You know, I like what he's done. He's got a good matchup this week. And a couple other guys, you know, Tyler Haneke, his matchup is intriguing because he's probably going to be playing from behind. Sam Darnold is intriguing. He's going up against the Texans. This would be a streaming situation, or more likely in a super flex. If you're in a super flex, that's what I'm really talking about. If you're in a super flex, these are the guys that you're going after. Okay, we're going to go ahead and put a pin in this sucker and turn back time and get the heck on out of here. Even on recordings, I can't find the the right button. All right. On this date in 1911, Boston Rustlers future Hall of Famer Cy Young beats the Pirates 1-0 at Ford's Field for his final career victory, number 511, a number we'll never see beaten. The only way that gets beaten is if they change the rules on what is and what is not a win. Also on this date in 1969, Willie Mays becomes the second player to hit 600 home runs. Obviously, the first was the great Babe Ruth, and then of course you would have Hank Aaron come behind him and do the same in very short fashion. Birthdays.
It's your birthday today. What does that mean?
We'll go with the guy that we lost very recently. Tommy Lasorda was born on this date, 1927. Would have been 94 years old.
Goodbye, sweetheart. Well, it's time to go. We're back tomorrow with another show. Well, unless we're fired, we'll talk to you then. Goodbye, sweetheart. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Guys and gals, it's time to go. We'll see you on the next show.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
Thanks for listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks on these CBS Sports affiliates and catching the show on YouTube Live. We're here weekdays. Find Armchair Quarterbacks on YouTube Live today. Please subscribe and share and take us everywhere you go. The Armchair Quarterbacks, your first choice for Southern sports talk, live from the First Coast.
Gonna get another cigarette.